being looked at as like lower than or downgraded because we don't have these certain higher up jobs, then we'll find somebody of another race. Like Latinos understand this at all. Like their men will go out and work on the streets or like be there at the stand or, I've seen them get at Home Depot just waiting in the mornings, like, and they'll be married because the women respect that they're just going out to get a job to support the family in any way they possibly can. I don't think we always feel that from Black women.
I think the standards are too high. They're superficial. And that brings me to another point in just a second where a woman's talking on Kendra G's show about how she wants a man with a 720 credit score. She has all these specifics that she wants in a man, but she's already been divorced twice. And I just think that's very contradicting. When you've already been divorced, you need to kind of sometimes... Not saying just throw standards and preferences are two different things, okay? You can have standards, but preferences as far as things that can change, that are variables, sometimes you got to get rid of those, should I say. But I think that when it comes to Black men migrating, I'm happy to hear from you that Black men are not migrating as much as we think they are. There's still a chance for Black women to get with Black men, but sometimes we have to lower our status on wanting a high-value man because a high-value man isn't always, like you said, that white-collar worker. It could be that blue-collar worker if we give him a chance. We just can't tell based off of the lifestyle that we want. We're trying to live that Birkin bag lifestyle, so we see a man out here that has money, he's flashing, he's wearing his worth, versus a man who knows where to invest his worth at.
And for men, it also goes back to skills because there are plenty of high value men that can't keep women. I mean, you have Bill Gates and then billionaires getting divorced at a high rate. And that's because it's still, once you get past the money part of things, does he have good social skills? Is he willing to like big up you in public? Can he like take care of a family? Does he have your best interest at heart? And there are plenty of high value men that honestly, they don't have to because they got all these women coming to them. They don't have to like develop any kind of like social skill with them because whereas like guys that don't are like, oh, it's going to be harder for me to have to get a woman. So I got to get all the skills I can to know how to make her feel like she's desired in this relationship. So
that's good. That's good to know that. Like you said, they have to compromise. They have to big up themselves here because they're not really that good in one area. So I definitely agree with that. And then Heritage Family Values said, a preference is a liking for one alternative over others. A standard is a level of quality. Yeah, that's a big difference between that. And then Latanya's like, does anyone still want a godly man? Just asking for a friend. I do over here. I definitely do.
Oh.
Hey, what?
We could go with that all day. Wow. Yeah.
Is that false advertising? The way men say they're God-fearing?
It's just I think I'll say this overall. I think it's particularly in the church. I think that the way in which women worship and the way in which women see what a connection to God should look like is at times different from the way a man's going to express it. So, for example, I know there's a show, I think I saw one of your shows where they're talking about, this guy was talking about how, like, at a concert, people get really hyped up, and then they go to church and they're not really hyped up.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm a guy that's like, look, when I go to a concert, I know I'm going there to, like, get riled up, music, have a good time. When I go to church, my purpose in church is to listen to a guy speak to me and give me some knowledge that I can use in my day-to-day life. And that takes focus and concentration. I might not be hooting and hollering in church, but a woman might see me just sitting there and be like, he's not really about God. He's not doing all this stuff. He's not crying this and that. And so there's a disconnect because a lot of men in particular in the church setting feel like it's really geared more towards women. And the way that we would collectively meet together and worship is not always the way that it's being taught in the church. And again, that doesn't necessarily look like the way we should be worshiping to women. And so there could be a disconnect of like, she wants me to like do all this extra stuff. And like, that's not really how I want to worship God. That's not what my relationship is like with him. And that can cause them to think, well, he's not really like godly.
Yeah,
and I think
I understand that.
Yeah, and a lot of men obviously stay home. A lot of men like stay home because like they like to go to church, but again, if they got to do all this extra stuff just to show and prove that they like God, and like they don't want to do all that. But they might be at home studying their Bible,
Yeah, maybe so. I need to see them actions, right? Because like again, like you said, maybe in the church they're not doing all that, but they're treating you like they've learned something at church that can be applied in real life. Right. Yeah. And some people say, hey, like Daryl said, I'm a hype man in and out of church. I'm super hype in church and out. And I understand that. Every guy is different. So it's all about the mannerisms with that. But it's like, that's not enough to say, oh, just because he's sitting there. If he's woke, that's a start. Because I've been to church with men who've been asleep. And I'm just like, okay, you are here trying to write an attendance record for what? You know what I'm saying? So in that case, no. Okay. But if you're just sitting there and you look like you're paying attention, be true to yourself. That's the key. All right. So so men are not migrating as much as we think they are, but I've seen a lot of black men that say, hey, I have no problem dating outside my race. For example, my cousin put a comment in the chat saying, I love my black women. They are my everything, but I'm open to African, Spanish, and Asian because dating our black women in these times is a tall task. So that's just his opinion. Yeah.
So this is an example of, like, again, women don't really know how things are for men. And so if, for example, if you go on like dating apps, right? A woman could put up a profile on a dating app and within a span of like 24 hours get like 150 matches. I know this because I've tried it. I've done testings of this where like that happened. Whereas a guy on a good day, the most attractive man, the high value man on these apps will probably, if he's lucky, get like maybe 10 to 15 matches on day one. So men are already at a disadvantage because there's going to be more women out there fighting for the top 20% of guys. And we're over here like, I don't want to find a woman. So if you have 100 black women and they're all going for the top 20%, and I'm in like the 30%, well, I got to expand my circle. I got to see what else is out there, because I'm not going to be like, oh, I want to just date a black woman and none of them are looking at me. Okay, fine. Who's looking at me? Because I got to testosterone. I got to get this seed out. I got to like pass my jeans on. I got to,
you got to Nick Cannon it. You got to Nick Cannon it.
I wouldn't go that far, but at least I want to have the option to be able to like, so that's why it's like most men are typically open to like, because we're looking at, are fine, fit, feminine. Are they willing to like get with our program? Are they down to, be there for us and support us? And so if that woman happens to be a white woman, fantastic. If I'm able to date a woman that's like Asian, that's not going to berate me, versus maybe a black woman who's going to like be on my head all the time about random stuff, then, and it's not to say that, because again, I've dated a lot of very nice, well-to-do black women. So this isn't, but since this is the show, it is what it is. But yeah, so if I'm going black woman versus over here, it's not going to fight me. It's going to be attentive to my needs. It's not going to like bash me for, telling her the truth about stuff. Yeah, I'm going over here.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And then I was wondering, is it seen for black men when they date white women or anybody outside of black women, is it seen as a status symbol sometimes that they can get higher up in society that way?
My experience is that we're just looking for somebody that's going to like be easy to deal with.
Yeah.
At the time, because we'll look at like, again, men will date like a high value woman or date a chick at McDonald's. Which one's bringing me more peace? That's really, because especially since we're thinking like we're going to be the earners anyway, really all the status is going to be based on us. So we don't really care what the woman's status, quote unquote, is, because she's not going to help us like up anymore. It's going to be our work and determination and getting raises and stuff like that that's going to bring value to this coupledom.
Yeah. So definitely, like, the last thing I want to talk about when it comes to this whole Kendra G thing is this video here I was talking about before. The lady has been divorced twice, has a 720 credit score. I want to know what your thoughts on her is, and should she lower these standards that are really preferences? So let's take a look at.
Okay. So this has to be also a man. He has to be tall. He has to have a 720 credit score. He has to own his own house. He has to be able to do global entry, a passport. He has to love pets. Could he have kids?
Yes.
You can have kids.
No small kids.
What's the age limit of the small kids?
12, because that's the age to stay home by yourself.
Okay. So listen, no pushback on your list. Let me just ask you this. Is that list non-negotiable? Like, if you don't find, is companionship or is that list more important to you? Because I think there's some things on your list that are superficial that you could work with.
Okay, I'm not so ganged up on companionship, because I am a happy being with my.
Okay, so
my thing is, when you go into getting into relationship and joining your life with someone else's, sometimes their baggage can be a bit heavy. And for me, I've been traveling light for a while, and I'm not ready to pick up a whole lot of baggage from someone else. So my list is, I wouldn't say non-negotiable, but I'm pretty stern on certain things. Global entry, I mean, it wouldn't be fair for me to travel with you and you can't do TSA pre-check. I'm not taking off my shoes. I'm not standing alone. Certain things I'm just not doing. I mean, I've kind of made my way through the channels that have those customs, just
But the agreement that you have made is, if you can't get it, you're fine. Like, you either have this or you won't have companionship, and that's fine with you.
Yes, because those things they're really easy to achieve.
She said, "Hey, give me my list, or I'm gonna die alone." Yeah, that's a mess.
So tallness is easy to achieve.
Right, that's a genetic thing, okay? You can't change that. Weight you can change. That's what I heard somebody say on Kendra G show, and that's facts. Weight you can change. That's something you can change. It's about what you put in your mouth, how much exercise you're doing. But height, that's something you can't change. And if you haven't had success in 2 marriages, don't you think you should try to change some of those superficial standards that are keeping you single and gonna have you cuddled up with your dog or cat at home?
I think people at times think that if they get everything that's on their checklist, then they'll be happy in a relationship. And they don't take into account the things they're not mentioning is like the emotional things that they're going to need. Like, you know, because let's say she dates a tall guy, she gets everything she wants, and then car wreck happens. They got to chop off both of his at the knees. And now he's like a third of the height he used to be. Is this now cause for divorce? Well, he's not as tall anymore, so what does that mean? You know?
There you go. Yeah.
And I don't think people think about that stuff. It's like, what other things, because all that stuff is superficial that she's mentioning. Outside of like, you know, oh, you know, he can have kids, wait, fantastic. But like, you know, they got to be, even that, they got to be a certain age. You could have a guy that has a kid that's like 15, but he has mental capacities where he functions like an 8-year-old.
There you go.
These are things that women aren't thinking about, you know? But like, again, those lists aren't going to necessarily make you happy. You can get everything on that list, but he's emotionally abusive, or the other way around where he's actually emotionally intelligent and he intimidates you because you can't quite figure out how to relate to him on a certain way, but he's got all these other things, so he's great, right? Like, and that's the thing where I think women get messed up, where they think having these lists are going to protect them and allow their hearts to be full. And that's just like not the case.
I agree 100% with that. Really, what stands out to me is the stupid things. The TSA pre-check. As long as we go riding on the plane together, chick. As long as we ride on the plane together, that's all that should matter. Why does he have to have TSA pre-check? That's just so superficial. She says she's used to these customs, and you gonna see that's what you're dealing with. That's what you consider that fake high value, where it's just all about the materialistic things, nothing of the mind. She didn't say anything that stimulated anybody's mind. It's more so just about the fact that, oh, this man has to have money, pretty much. Yep. And that's not enough. Like you said, he could be an emotional wreck. I totally agree.
And I find that those people too will be the ones that like they get everything on the list, but then they're going to want to add more to the list.
Oh yeah.
So like,
she said that's the bare minimum. She said that's like I watched the rest of it. She said that's the bare minimum. That's like the gate. To get into the gate, you got to have that. The TSA pre-check, the 720 credit score, all of that. Okay, honey.